Hello, my name is Lucas, this is Bit of Lit, and I'm here to talk about a video I saw by the Nerdy Narrative and add my own thoughts to it. It's a challenge for creating the perfect book, where you choose 10 different authors to write different elements of a book, whether it's the prose or the hero, the villain, the humor, the romance, all this stuff. I have a few issues with it. Namely, first thing being, the perfect book, if it does not already exist for you, exists in your mind and you can go write it, okay? Don't let it be a fantasy where you imagine 10 authors creating some kind of Frankenstein monster out of their writing into some beautiful thing. Let it be you, okay? Speaking of fantasy, it assumes that your perfect book would be a fantasy book, but, you know, I will be forgiving. I'm sure it's your perfect fantasy book, not your perfect book. That has to be fantasy, based on the certain parts of, basically just one or two of these prompts. And also, it assumes that you want all these things because you want to read a chunkster, apparently. Not the case for me. My perfect book is a novella. But I do like me some chunksters as well. Anyway, number one, prose. I would have to say, for me, the prose selection would be Octavia E. Butler. There is not a single misplaced word, not a single word missing either, for that matter. It's incredibly powerful, very effective, emotional at times. Just like there's an impact when it's meant to be there, and it hits you. It's a gut punch, okay? Her prose is excellent, so that would be my choice for the prose element of who would write my perfect book. I don't know what they would write about it, but apparently they would write something. None of this has anything to do with what the book would be about. It's just the people that would write the book. That has no theme or ideas, really, or characters. Just people writing characters that don't exist. Anyway, number two, world building. Okay, we could say, you know, world building has to happen in every kind of genre fiction. Sure. Or literary fiction too, I suppose, in its own way, so you can understand the town or the city that it's in. And for me, I would say that also I'm going to move away from speculative fiction authors, and I'm going to pick possibly, you know what? Yes, David Simon, the author of Homicide and The Corner, and also an HBO TV show writer. The Corner, The Wire, Treme, Generation Kill, and a couple other shows that I can't remember at the moment. The Plot Against America. He does a really good job in his shows with his other writers to help you understand what this place is like, wherever it is, whether it's, you know, the streets of Baltimore or the invasion of a country, or what have you. It's early 70s, late 60s, I can't remember, the show about pornography and prostitution in New York. I can't remember the name of that. Has James Franco? Anyway, in Homicide, he followed detectives in the homicide unit in Baltimore for a year, and you really got to understand what Baltimore is like, or was like at that time, and what the police force was like at the time, and how and why the police force acts the way it does. And, you know, in a way, that's world building in its own. It helps you understand why people react, what they react to, and, you know, what forces the police were against and what force the police were, and these kind of things. And I think he does a great job with that in all his shows as well. Number 3, magic systems. This is tricky for me because I don't know any, because I don't read that much fantasy. But if I had to say, I might have to choose, the magic system is a system that I see a lot of people praising, sort of hard magic systems, I think they call them, like hard sci-fi in a way. Like with Brandon Sanderson, all the magic has rules and logic to it, so that people know what to expect or can be surprised in different ways. But there's a logic to it, unlike, say Lord of the Rings, where I'm not entirely sure what kind of magic Gandalf is up to, but I know Sauron can speak, apparently. Anyway, because it's something that is meant to have sound logic in some sense, at least, doesn't have to be necessarily like Brandon Sanderson, who I've not read before, by the way. But I would have to say, for me, if I had to pick someone who does have some kind of magical realism element to them, or fantasy element to them, or magic about their writing, it would be Jorge Luis Borges. The guy is just running circles around everyone. He is so intellectual, and I swear everything he ever wrote is just some kind of joke that he's in on, and hopefully you will get it, because if you get it, then he's going to enjoy the joke even more. Otherwise, he's just going to be laughing and running circles. There are so many of his short stories that are just like, I'm wasting so many people for number 7, which is humor, because his humor is amazing, and so is David Simon's. But anyway, yeah, I would say my magic system would be Jorge Luis Borges, because it would just be like so off the wall, and like you would need to read it again and again and again and again to try to understand it. And not to say that it would be impossible to understand, or like it wouldn't make any sense. It's just the logic is so far on another level. Anyway, I'm praising him a lot. Number 4, who would I have write my characters? I would assume it would be the person writing the prose, but I guess not. If I had to say who is writing my characters, well, let's just see. Who would I have write my characters? That would have to be... I think I would actually pick Virginia Woolf, definitely. I praise her so much. I wouldn't pick her to write prose because her prose is very confusing and hard to read, and you have to read it so slowly and again and again, and then, But the way her characters' minds are, and it only works with her prose, but the way she can get so granular in detail with their thoughts and ideas is just fantastic. Her characters are extremely well written, and I think she's the best character writer that I know. Number 5, who would I have write plot? That is an excellent question. Who would I have write the plot for my perfect book? Possibly Leo Tolstoy. I've only read War and Peace, and I think I actually have read The Death of Ivan Ilyich a long time ago, and I mean, I'm in awe at both of those. Yeah, I did read it, because I remember the way it's just horrifying in its own right. But reading that epic, even though I want actually a novella, perhaps, if it was not, and it had all these things, and it was a grand epic, Leo Tolstoy would be the person I choose, because, but his characters are also not as sort of granular, maybe as Virginia Woolf, or if we're going for another Russian author, Dostoevsky. Please. Yeah, Leo Tolstoy would write the plot for my perfect novel. I guess this is the perfect book, not novel, so we're all right. Anyway, number 6, and this one is a little bit the fantasy element as well. Action and battle. Of course, this is assuming I want any of this. And don't, but... Oh, I already wasted Leo Tolstoy as my choice. I think the person I would choose to write the action in my book would have to be, oh my gosh, I don't know. You know what? Actually, I just read this person's book the first time and I really liked it. And there was quite a bit of action and brutality because there was war in this book. I would say, how do you say her name? I just read Half of a Yellow Sun. What is it called? I would pick Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I hope I said her name right. She's a Nigerian author. I would have her write the action and battle. Keep it short because it's never too long. Just a page here, page there. I don't like too much. There's plenty of sort of action things moving along. She does that really well. And the battles, there's a lot of violence and brutal. It shows you how horrific it is, and she shows the aftermath really, really well in Half of a Yellow Sun. So that would be who I choose. Glad I just read that, or we would be struggling here. Number 7, who would I want to write my humor? Well, I already... You know what? I would pick Fyodor Dostoevsky. Not an author I particularly enjoy, however. The entire time I was reading Crime and Punishment, I was cackling like a madman because it was just so absurd and insane that, I really enjoyed that book. For that, everything else, it's just so long. It veers everywhere. It's annoying, but, I have mixed feelings about it. I liked it for the most part, but I also didn't like it. But he would definitely write the humor. It's just so dark. Romance, number 8. For me, this would be Edith Wharton. Okay. Edith Wharton would definitely write the romance. It could be a tragic romance. It could be, it would be a tragic romance. Definitely what would happen in my perfect book. Whether it's Ethan Frome or Summer, or now I'm blanking, The House of Mirth or something like that. I mean, just, she's beautiful. Her writing is amazing, and I don't see enough of her on BookTube, so I must amend that. Number 9, who would I want to write my hero? Who do I want to write my hero? I'm going to say Ursula K. LeGuin. Go back to a little bit of that speculative fiction element because I feel like she's amazing. She's an excellent author. And her protagonists are complex and deep and cause me pain and anguish and often move me. So that's who I would want to root for, someone who moves me in some way. And number 10, who would I want to write the villain? Oh my gosh. Who would I want to write the villain? I don't even know. It's got to be a good author, I suppose. Possibly, I would pick... You know what? I would also have to say that for the villain here, right now, number 10, I would have to pick Harlan Ellison, I think. Because all the bad people in his books are just sick and twisted and messed up. And you know what? I need my protagonist to overcome that kind of antagonist, okay? I need that in my life. and I think it would be good fun. We're going back to a little bit of speculative fiction. He's not one of my favorite writers, but I do think that I think he writes a good villain, okay? So that's my perfect book. I have no idea what it's about. I have no idea who any of the characters are. That didn't ask that. I don't know why. You would think that it might ask that. Perhaps this challenge needs a little bit of amending. To ask about themes or over a general plot idea that the person you chose to write the plot would work on. And maybe some characters and some moments and some things you want to see. Anyway, I digress. It's a good little challenge, but deeply flawed. Okay, bye.